Hey family, so this is the latest painting tutorial, and this time we're looking at Jimmy from Zombicide, Undead or Alive. So you can see there I've already applied a Zenithal undercoat, and on this occasion using brown and flesh tone, topped off with scar white, and now just going in with the contrast Apothecary white to apply to the shirt. So I find this gives a good level of shading, just gets into those creases, and there's quite a nice grey hue to it that when it's dried just really helps to bring out the idea of white in the garments when they're done. So I've used this on quite a few minis now, and just getting in there around the neck as well. And then there's a tiny bit just poking through under the waistcoat, which picked up as well there, and around the back of the neck. Just that collar poking up from Jimmy there. So now going in Guilliman flesh. So what I tend to do is mix this down on a wet palette, and I use about 50-50 in terms of the actual contrast paint and just plain old water. And I find this just helps to water that down enough to give you enough shade in the recesses, but not be too overpowering on the highlights. You do want it to look like a flesh colour at the end of it. One of the things I love about contrast paints is you can be fairly free flowing. And then going in with Space Wolves grey. Now with this one I did apply a watering down initially, and then I found it didn't come out particularly dark or powerful enough. And so over the course of doing the trousers in this instance and the hat at the end, I'll go back in for. I found myself using more and more, just dipping straight into the pot. A little bit of water down, but not as much as initially anticipated. But again, that's one of the nice things, you can water it down initially, and then as you go on you can then apply a second layer, or you can just thicken it up and go with the flow. But obviously if you apply it too dark in the first instance, you're going to struggle to then undo that if that's a mistake. So that would be my advice, will always be, if you're unsure of the quality of a contrast paint you've not used before, then start off with a watered down 50-50 mix, start applying it, see if you get the effect that you want, if it's the right colour, and then you can always go heavier. Now apologies again, you're still seeing a lot of autofocus kicking in and out. So I'm currently using a Galaxy S9, and whilst there are lots of options in the camera settings, I've as of yet been unable to find an option to turn off the autofocus. So yeah, I'll probably have a look and see if I can find maybe an alternative app. So if you've got any suggestions, please do throw a comment below. I'd be really happy to hear what other people are using. In this instance I was also additionally struggling a little bit more because my PC, my main computer, had died, and so I was completely dependent on using the phone and the screen on the phone to gauge what I was doing. Obviously for me, I don't use the screen on the phone to paint, so I'm filming at a slight angle to what I'm painting. So here going in with a Militarian green, and you see again mix that down with a 50-50 with water. Going in, and you'll notice I really like the colour effect there, and it's just picking up some of that shade, but my initial application I found to be quite light. So yeah, I found I did have to go back in and just apply a slightly heavier coat. But I really like the colour combo. I think it works well, and it's a good representation of the original graphics. So yeah, I was really happy with how this came out. And again, other than keeping within the lines, contrast paints are fairly versatile, fairly forgiving. And you can apply obviously slightly heavier layers where you'd have shadows. And I went a bit heavy there initially, so I was just mopping some of that up. And continuing around the arms, just picking out that best. That really nice, rather muted, but still effective green. And again, I'm just applying slightly heavier layers there, just to get that shading in. The creases. Here's Waistcoat. And then going over that, as I mentioned at the beginning, that front part, just deepening the shadows. But yeah, really happy with how that top came out. So now going in and applying this on the rope. So using Nazdreg yellow. And this is straight out the pot, just using a wet palette just to help the application. It's good for just getting that refinement on the tip of the brush, just to help apply neatly to the miniature. As you can see, a lot of this is very much around not wanting to go over the edges, just keep it neat. Take your time. And I'm not a particularly fast painter myself, which is why this seems a bit more frenetic than it would be in real time. So going in now with the IronJawz yellow, just to catch that Cravat. And again, this one's straight out the pot. I want to really capture the intensity and the contrast of that yellow compared to the green and the white of the shirt and the collar. Just help to make that pop. But yeah, very happy with that. Then going in, and now I'm going to be applying the hair, so using Gryph-Hound Orange. That was one of the, I think, the key characteristics with Jimmy. Is this shocking orange hair, and again, just going in, be nice and careful. Just the touches here on the tash and the goatee, and he does have it down the sides. And then of course his eyebrows. And then catching the main hair itself. Which is really nice choice of colours, beautiful decision with that yellow and the green. having that orange hair, really nice and contrasting. As I mentioned before, just stick to the same artwork coloration. So I'm really happy with that. So now going in and catching these dark areas. Now I didn't want to do it black, so I used Wildwood, which is a very, very dark brown in the contrast range. So you'll see that I'm watering that down a little bit, just to catch on here. So you've got the hilt of the machete. And I've always added on the wood on either side of the blade. You've got the belt around his waist. And again, just being careful there, just make sure those trouser loops don't get covered up, lost. So a nice little bit of detail, just add that extra character. And then we've got the bullet holder around his torso. So just gently going in, catching those. Of course, where the bullets are, you've got the tips of the bullets pointing out at the top and the bottom. So just try hard as we go round to those, just to try and leave them white, just to assist in helping to pick those up and go in there with the contrast. There we go, so that's all of the dark stuff. And now going in to the metals. So yeah, I found really effective there. Briar Queen Chill. It's a really nice, cool tone blue to apply as almost a base layer. So then apply metallic silver over the top. So we've got this machete hilt. Just capturing that around the edges. And then of course the blade itself. I just capture all of that blade, ready for the application of the metallic silver. He did a tremendous job on these sculpts, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, you know, the Seymour miniatures, I mean, they really do practically paint themselves. I mean, they're fantastic, just being able to go in and really just almost just picking out areas to paint and picking out some of the finer details. But in the main, I mean, these miniatures there, they really are cracking in terms of the quality, the level of detail they provide, and being able to just get in there and pick those out. And yeah, contrast paints for me just really have revolutionised my joy and enjoyment of painting. So going in now with a Snakebite leather, and using this there just on the shoes, the footwear. And I did feel like it was a bit of a challenge that the graphics didn't include the footwear, so I decided to go with Snakebite leather rather than black. I felt it would just add a bit more tonal quality and time with the rest of the miniature. And the risk with black is it could tend to be a little bit more dead. And then this is a really key stage, I find, going in here with Agrax Earthshde. What I'm doing here is just really applying a level of grime and dirt as it were, but the main thing here is that differentiation on the shadowing. As you see, I'm going in all these areas where I've got the natural shading from the contrast paints, where I think there should be maybe a tad more shading, and just really trying to pick that out and add that greater level of depth and differentiation, particularly between the different areas of the paint jobs, the different layers. So, just going in around the hands, underneath there, going in around the shirt, just picking out that patch on the shoulder. Picking around the belt of the waistcoat, where the seams are. Try and capture a bit more depth on that rope. It's being used to carry the machete. And just the creases on that waistcoat there. The creases on the trousers. And again, just a bit more on the shirt. Just try and darken that, pick that out. And again, back onto the hands. Just really helps just to pick out those individual fingers. And then around the front of the waistcoat. And of course the cravat, just really help to see that depth that's available there. And back to the shirt, around the hands, and around those edges where the waistcoat and shirt meets as well. And then finally going in, just apply a little bit more around the face, just gets a bit more shading in there. Just help, again, just differentiate a bit around some of that detail in the hair, and where the hair meets the face, and adding that extra level of shade, shadow around the eyes, around the top of the hat. So that's probably one of the longest stages. Now we're just finalising off with the highlights. So you can use Scar White for this. In this instance, I've gone in with some Vallejo and just highlighting back up that shirt, just bringing it back up now. And I really do, again, just find this extra level of work over the slap chop, if you will, really just helps to make the minis pop when they're on the tabletop, really stand out. It's so worth taking the extra few minutes. You know, all the hard work's already been done. Now just taking a bit of time and care, picking out some of these highlights here. Yep, just going in, following the lines of the creases. Just help pick those out. And of course leaving the shadows on the underside. And then one of the main things with this particular character's artwork is his teeth. So just trying to get in there and capture that mouth just with those teeth, and then finally going in with pale flesh. Now this is possibly a little paler than I would have chosen, and maybe would have mixed it with something else, but the one advantage in this instance for this particular character is this pale flesh. What it does, it really helps to emphasise the orange on the hair. So it kind of worked quite well. So just going in and really lightening, trying to lighten that up a bit more in terms of, or water it down rather. Just try and make the face not quite as heavy on the highlights. Just really bring it down a bit. Just going in, try and capture those highlights, those fantastic cheekbones, the jawline, that chin. And this is the final stage, so I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've liked this, if you found this useful, please throw a comment down below to let me know. Obviously throw a like on the video. If you want to see more of these, please hit subscribe. So I've got one final piece after this, which I think is the silver. There we go. So Leadbelcher is what I go in there then with all the gun and the machete. You can see there the snakebite leather on the shoes, just how well that's come out. Just captured those details, really helped them to pop. It does a fantastic job. Really like the different hues that captures. There we go. And then just around the machete. So yeah, if you've got a character from the core box that you'd like to see painted up next, drop me a comment in the bottom. Otherwise I'll crack on with whomsoever as the next one. And yeah, hopefully once I've got these core box minis finished off, and I'm doing some work on the tiles as well, I'll video some playthroughs and throw them up as well. But I'm really enjoying all of the content, the classes, very different experience, great fun, lots of tactical thinking, really enjoying it. And there we go. So as I say, hope you've enjoyed this, and I found it of some benefit and some use, and hopefully give you guys some inspiration and some thought around maybe colour choices and some techniques that you may find helpful in your own painting journey. But as you can see, it's not rocket science, certainly not with these CMON miniatures. They're so good. They're such a delight to paint. And yeah, hopefully see you back here for the next video. And please do hit that like and subscribe and give us a comment. Let us know what you want to see next. But as I end it all, thank you for watching, family, and hopefully be seeing you again soon. Cheers for now.